in the Money Diaries series, we're talking about sustainability in clothing. And today, I have a very special guest who is near and dear to my heart. My sister! Hello! So Hannah is my younger sister, but she has the wisdom of an older sister, which I really appreciate because I really need that most of the time, all the time. Hannah is also crazy creative, and she uses her creative endeavors to advocate for mental health. You should check out her mental health account right here. You can link in the bio. Link in the bio, also right here. We're gonna jump into sustainability, and we're gonna go through some of our tips and tricks that we've learned through the years to be more sustainable. Here we go. Okay, Hannah, fill in the blank. Sustainability is not
greenwashing, a trend, and cheap clothing. Okay, so sustainability is not greenwashing, it's not cheap clothing, and it's not a trend. So I have a question. What is greenwashing? Is it like when you wash your clothes with green dye? What is it?
Okay, so greenwashing is basically when companies, or even personally, say that they're reeling out sustainable practices. So oftentimes this will look like saying that they have like an eco-conscious collection, or they're saying that they're saying something that is sustainable without having any research to back it up. So oftentimes what that'll look like is, say you're on a site and they're like, oh, here's our eco collection, and then you start looking through it and maybe they have a few garments that have a kind of fiber that is more sustainable, but really the rest of it is still plastic. And companies aren't actually living up to the sustainability model, and sustainability is so big and broad, but it's also an ongoing journey that takes a lot of resources for a company to get certified in. So there's a lot of different certifications you can be looking for. B Corp, Hig Index, Fair Trade. Say look at their website, look at what their story is, look if they have any information on sustainability.
Their history too.
Look at their history, look up like what has happened in the past for them as a company. Companies who are on the cusp of really pushing for sustainability will have a lot of information about their sustainability practices. Companies that don't really have that aren't going to have it because they're not proud of it.
So I got a question. Why can't I buy cheap clothing? I'm working as a full-time student and just trying to get by, and sometimes like I need clothing, but I can't afford the $90 t-shirt. So what's cheap clothing have to do with sustainability?
If you want to buy cheap clothing, there's nothing holding you back from buying cheap clothing, but that's your choice. Cheap clothing has a lot of negative effects on the environment and also on people. That's why it's best not to. For one, from beginning to end, it takes so much work to create a garment. You have to cut the fabric, you need to dye the fabric, you need to finish the edges, you need to put it together, you have to pin it, you have to steam it, you have to package it. That takes so much work. So it's kind of incredible how you can buy something for $5 when it took anywhere from 3 hours to 3 weeks to make something. And think about the minimum wage we have right now in the US, and think about how much it costs to buy a t-shirt. Like, it doesn't really add up.
So I've noticed that also when I buy clothing that is kind of like a mid-range price, that it does have like you can get merchandise, for example, from a company like, I'll just put a name out there, Deso Supply, and they have products that are affordable, but they're also sustainable. Or you can buy products from brands that are ethically made. Like I'm wearing a shirt from the name below, I just forgot their name. But again, this is like $25, but it's ethically made, and I know this will last me a while. So
buying your clothing, it's not a matter of like, oh, is this cheap? Like, can I buy it? It's more like, okay, let me do my research. What the company has on their website for sustainable practices, because really, like I said before, sustainable practices affect the environment and the people. When clothes are made cheaper, a lot of times they'll use dyes that aren't environmentally safe, and they'll end up going into the water supply after they've been used in the factory, because it takes a lot of water, a lot of dye to make clothes.
My next question, so you said sustainability, it's not a trend. Can you elaborate on that?
Sustainability is not a trend. I know in recent years, it's kind of taken the whole fashion industry by storm. So a lot of times you'll see that in marketing ads or for different clothing companies, and a lot of them are actually like very legit, and what they're doing is having an impact. But at the same time, you see companies that are using sustainability as a marketing thing, and like you said before, greenwashing, to kind of get people to be like, oh, this is a good thing to do. And I think that especially with Gen Zers, there's this mindset of they want to be socially aware, and sustainability is part of that. But at the same time, you don't want to get tricked by companies who are saying they're being sustainable when they really are not. So it's not a trend, it's something that should be pursued throughout your entire life.
Let's get into this. What is sustainability then?
Okay, so sustainability is researching who made your clothes and how they're being treated and how they're getting paid as well. It means transparency, and it means investing.
Like stocks?
Kind of like stocks, but more in like the whole of society. So let me go first into what it means to research. So the biggest thing and biggest example I can give of why it's important to do your research is there was the Bangladesh building collapse. It was awful. A lot of really big name companies were involved, and it involved meaning that they had a lot of their products being made in that factory, a factory that was not up to code, that had been given a lot of warnings by the people that this building was gonna collapse, and no one had done anything. And so the importance of doing your research is a lot of times companies will outsource, say, India, and they have one factory. But because they're demanding a certain price that the company can't meet, but they want their business, they'll outsource their business to another factory. But say that factory can't meet their prices either, so they'll outsource to another factory. So while a company is saying, oh, like this company that we outsource to is great, you know, but really they're not being responsible in the prices that they're demanding. They can't ensure that workers are being treated fairly.
So do you lose transparency that way? Just the further, it's almost like a game of like, we're gonna give this to you, and then just give it to another person, and then pretty much like you just have messages that are being relayed from what they want to hear, or they'll just disregard it entirely.
Transparency is so important, not only for the consumer, for us to know, but also for the business themselves to know where their clothes are being made. And I think a lot of times it's just lack of caring, unfortunately, and it's a lack of being on top of things, and greed, a lot of greed too, unfortunately. And so that's why it's so important you do your research when you're buying from a company, is making sure that matters to them. It matters how their workers are treated and how they're being paid. And I think it's really important that they're paying their workers a livable wage. Companies who care about it are going to tell you about it. That's what I've learned. They're really going to drive that home.
A few brands that you say practice these sustainable practices? I mean, I have a few, but I want to hear yours.
Deso Supply, they're a great one. They actually will have the ladies who make the garment sign their garment, and you can actually go on their website and thank them for what they've made, which is so sweet.
And it says you can thank the lady who made this. That's the name right there.
Crochet Kids is their sister brand. Another really great brand that I really like, I only have a few pieces from because they're a little on the spendier side, is Deso. I love Deso. So this company is amazing. They are based in Lake Tahoe, and the owner of it actually works with the workers in San Francisco to work on improvements for their brand. And it's all made in small batches, which is really great. So you're lowering your environmental impact.
Yeah, and lately they've been trying to reduce any outsourcing outside of the US, so even everything from the thread is being made in the United States in sustainable factories. And I've noticed that that's one thing that sometimes some brands try to play off of, is saying they're made in the United States, when in reality it was just stitched and sewn the last stage in the United States. So they can get you there unless you do your research and do your homework. So it's a lot of just figuring out more about the brand, what they're doing, and finding out transparency.
I would also encourage you to look at brands that aren't doing a good job, that have like really awful practices. H&M, Forever 21, Zara, because once you see like the negative impact that they have, it makes you sick to your stomach. It's disgusting. And that's kind of what forced me the other end of like, okay, I don't want to be a part of this. What can I do to be sustainable? The Bangladesh collapse, that was awful. Seeing the mothers carrying their dead children in their arms tears like a hole in your heart, because you're like, I don't want to be part of this, you know. And I think one thing I've learned is you vote with your dollars, and
right.
in doing that you can vote for change in the fashion industry.
Exactly. You are making every purchase you make is a cast into the world that you want to create.
Exactly. That's the importance of researching. Say next. Oh, transparency. This kind of goes along with what I just said. Transparency is really important in company because it allows you as a consumer to know where your money is going. Not a perfect sustainable company, but one that it does pretty good job with transparency is Everlane. They will put the amount that they spend for the entire garment and how much they mark it up. And you know, companies have to mark up their clothes because that's how they make a profit. Knowing where your money is going is important. Oh, it has some Everlane
I got this pair actually at a thrift shop in San
More
Francisco. So double sustainability. At a thrift shop in San Francisco. It was my first Everlane purchase because they are on the higher end. But these I've worn more than 10 times, and I think I got them at a pretty good price. But
yeah, and I've heard really good things about their denim. I've never bought their denim before because I just haven't had a need for denim recently. But the people who have owned a pair of Everlane denim say it's really good, and it's a good price too. It's around $68. And again, you can like click when you're shopping on their site, click on the product you want, and it'll show you how much it costs for them to make it, like thread to shipping to how much they mark it up. So that's really great.
And I like to think of it this way: if you are buying a garment, say for $68, and you're wearing it maybe twice every week out of the whole year, getting your money's worth for how many times you wear that.
Invest in your clothing with things you're actually going to wear. You actually get a better cost per wear for the garment you spent more money on, because in the long term you're wearing it more. Breakdown of what it looks like and how important it is to invest in your clothing pieces. You can even say that for things that are a little more expensive. That's how I justify buying things that are like a little bit more, that are ethically sourced and are sustainable, because if I know I'm gonna wear it a certain amount of times, it's worth the money. And I know a lot of times too, if I can't afford something that's a little higher priced, I'll look for it secondhand. So thankfully I live in Seattle and there's a lot of good thrift stores there. I'll oftentimes find amazing pieces for not that expensive, which is great. Also, there's things online too, like Depop, Poshmark.
Hi, hello. So this video is getting a little too long for my taste, and I want to keep the focus on what sustainability is and is not in this video. So we're going to move tips and tricks into the next video and focus on that for sustainability next. So stay tuned. Until then, we'll see you later.